Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Project Infinite podcast, the podcast covering the infinite and ever-expanding multiverse from movies, comics, TV shows, video games. We got you covered. I'm Rob. I'm here as always with Courtney. Courtney, we're on the precipice now of Doctor Strange 2.
We're here. The bill comes due always.
Right, like we talked about last week.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not here to talk about Doctor Strange because we've talked about him enough.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about him way more over the next 2 weeks.
We'll talk about it probably a little bit at the end of this, but for the most part, we're going to be talking about Moon Knight, which has, to this point, streamed 5 episodes. The finale is coming out tomorrow, the same day that this podcast will be coming out. So we'll be talking about at least the first 5 episodes of Moon Knight leading into the finale, and just what a wonder Oscar Isaac is as an actor.
No, and everybody should have known as soon as he was cast what the caliber that he was bringing to the MCU, and even so, it still is a bit surprising just how absolutely magnetic he is and how electric he is and how dynamic he is, I think is the perfect word to use. I just think he's just so versatile in what he's doing. Obviously playing 2 characters at the same time really takes a bit of depth and just takes a little bit of a intelligence as an actor to carry. So he's been doing a phenomenal job, and I can't wait to see what we have in store for this finale and where else he might pop up in future projects as well.
Yeah, but before that, we do have some news to talk about, and a bit of a bummer to start with. Neal Adams passed away, the age of 80, the notorious comic book artist.
Yep. Famous for, one of the most famous Batman writers or artists. Some consider Neal Adams like the definitive Batman artist. Drew him all throughout the 70s. Infamously had the couple cool ones. He had the Muhammad Ali versus Superman. He drew that, and then more of a more serious note and something that was definitely a social commentary at the time. The infamous Green Lantern, Green Arrow crossover with the notorious cover of Roy Harper, on drugs on the cover, something that was kind of radical at the time even, drew that, and something that I think is very impressive that you took that upon yourself to make a statement with that too. So Neal Adams, you will be missed. So many comic artists that I follow on all platforms are super sad about this one, and it's tough when a legend dies like this. So lived a good life, I hope, and we'll see you in the next life.
Yeah, and it just kind of honestly raises a lot of thoughts about how well comic book artists are appreciated, especially in this time where the superhero genre has transitioned from the page to the screen. Right? And we've seen a few artists come out and then feel like they haven't gotten their just due for the films that they partially helped inspire. And, it's warranted. We talked about Thor Ragnarok a couple weeks ago about how there's one iconic shot in the trailer that's ripped pretty much from...
Or for Thor Love and Thunder.
Thor Love and Thunder, yeah. How one of those shots in the trailers is ripped basically right from a comic book panel.
Yeah. So Asad Ribic's, in my opinion, one of the most masterful runs of any comic, especially recently. The definitive Thor run, in my opinion, the Thor God of Thunder run by Jason Aaron, but Asad Ribic's art just across the board. He worked on Eternals. He worked on Thor. He's synonymous with Thor, in my opinion. There's just this rough and rugged nature to his art that I really enjoy. And obviously, like you said, like an artist like that. The recent one is David Aja's art. Basically inspiring Hawkeye through and through, with Matt Fraction's run. Definitely deserves a lot of credit. So these comic book artists, like a lot of these panels that you see that are in these movies, they come from somewhere in these properties. So thank you, Neal Adams, for what you've done for comic books in this great medium that will, say to the end of the day is just one of the most special ones that you can have.
Absolutely. No easy way to transition out of talking about someone passing away, but the show goes on, and the show has stopped for Justin Lin, who has dropped out of Fast 10 as its director.
Yeah.
Reportedly over issues with the star, Vin Diesel. It stinks. Justin Lin's a good director.
Yeah, and what's funny is we all know what you get out of the Fast and Furious movies. You know what you're gonna get, and I like when people kind of accept that, where you're not gonna go in to try to critically, review these movies. You just go in and kind of turn your brain off for 2+ hours. But Justin Lin really took that, and what he was able to do, which I really appreciated, is he said, hey, narratively, we're going to be a little bit ridiculous, but you know what? I can really put together a really good stunt team and really kind of shine through and make sure we have some really good set pieces in our movies. So it does kind of stink to see him leave. Just what he was able to do behind the camera technically was pretty impressive. So he steps out, obviously, like Rob said, due to some issues with Vin Diesel. Really, I don't even want to say surprising. I don't even really want to comment on it because I don't know how far it extends. And, as many outlets will ever say, us, whoever you're reading or listening to or watching, they'll always, have their 2 cents, whatever. But we're not on set. We'll never know. We just simply, unless there's something concrete with evidence, we'll never know what actually happened. So. Yep.
He directed a bunch of the other Fast and Furious movies, especially in this new kind of set of Fast movies. He directed the reboot, which was Fast 4 technically. He directed Fast 5. He directed 6. He directed 9. And those are all really, really good.
Yeah, in terms of the technical aspect of those movies. And I remember, I think it was specifically 9 is where it started. He did not do 8, right? He didn't do 7 or 8, right? Yeah. Right. So, I mean, like I said, technically, some of the stunts they're pulling off, they are pulling off practically, and it is some of them, regardless of, and listen, me too, don't think these movies should be critically acclaimed. But like I said, behind the scenes and on set, it's some pretty cool stuff they're able to pull off. So, Justin Lin is out. We do not have a director, I don't believe yet. We will see who steps into the project, and it's probably gonna be, a studio hire where it's just pretty simple and just go finish the project at this point. That's probably what it's gonna be.
Yeah, I would probably lean towards that because this is already in the midst of filming.
Right.
It was supposed to be kind of like a Infinity War Endgame style type thing where Justin Lin was gonna direct both of these, and now obviously that's up in the air. So presumably, however they get to finish this, we'll move on to either whatever it is, 11 or 10 part 2 or whatever they decide to do with it. Transitioning into another directorial departure, John Watts has stepped away from the Fantastic Four MCU film.
Yeah, this is a pretty massive departure.
Substantial, yeah.
Mainly, obviously, John Watts just directed possibly a top 3 biggest movie of all time a couple months ago with Spider-Man No Way Home, and now he's gone from the other, like the first family, like these, monumental characters inside of, this just ever-expanding superhero genre that just dominates the box office and dominates kind of our perception and views on movies. He's out, and
not over anything nefarious. He just wanted to get away from doing comic book movies.
However, the timing is very suspicious. And I say that for one reason only, and that reason is John Krasinski is my main conspiracy theory to why he's out. Obviously,
they fought each other.
Yeah, they fought each other, and John Krasinski, because he was in 13 Hours, won because he put on a whole bunch of muscle. But seriously, regardless of what happens on Thursday, because we've had fan theories for, ever since we heard about this movie was going to be a multiversal movie with characters coming back, that John Krasinski could play a version of Mr. Fantastic. We don't know. I think we kind of consensus was Ewan Griffin would be the Mr. Fantastic in the movie, but I do think that John Krasinski's going to write, or he's going to direct, and he's going to be Mr. Fantastic in this movie. I just think it makes the most sense. That one Photoshop picture with him, it just ignited everything. It was over after that. And then obviously Emily Blunt, after being, his co-star in A Quiet Place, just makes, and his wife in real life.
His wife.
Yeah, it just makes absolute.
His actual wife.
Yeah, his actual wife just makes absolute sense just to make her Sue Storm.
Yeah.
Just finish it out. Just Dacre Montgomery as Johnny Storm and Joel Egerton as the Thing. Oh, sorry. Maybe we should
Michael Chiklis?
Yeah, Michael Chiklis as
Just get Michael Chiklis back.
He's like Wanda. She's going to be the same in every universe. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I think it's, like you said, the timing is certainly interesting. Especially since it was actually kind of crazy that he was tapped to direct this project to begin with.
Right, and I remember when that happened, people were a little bit pensive about it because the first reaction was like, because you had your traditionalists that were like, oh, he ruined Spider-Man because he's not the same. Even though we got it by the end of No Way Home, we got that traditional depressed Spider-Man, I guess everybody loves. But they didn't want him to do, some people didn't want him to do Fantastic Four. Other people were on the other side of the coin. They were excited because obviously he just took one of the most recognizable characters in the world and is going to apply that same, tender love and care to the first family of comics as well. So it's going to be really interesting. And like I said, I think it's John Krasinski. Maybe Brad Bird, puts his hat in the ring because he directed The Incredibles and just do the same thing, but Marvel. So
do it with the actual Fantastic Four?
Yeah, do it with the actual Fantastic Four this time.
Yeah. We'll see what comes of that. I mean, Kevin Feige went to his little hermit summit where he storyboarded the next 10 years of movies. So
DC's like, you what?
He can do that?
You can do that?
Yeah, we're going to talk about DC in a little bit.
Yeah.
But sticking with the MCU and actors who are just nowadays just being like, yeah, I'd like to do this. Mm-hmm. Zac Efron has officially thrown his hat in the ring of saying that he would like to one day be in a Marvel project if the character is right and they come a-calling. And we talked a few weeks back about casting the X-Men in the MCU, and Zac Efron was your choice for Wolverine.
Yeah, notoriously not my choice for Gambit or Johnny Storm. Mainly because I just think he's too old at that. What is Zac Efron? He's nearing 40, right? He's getting close.
What a crazy thing to say.
Isn't that crazy? I just remember yesterday watching this guy.
Zac Efron is 34.
34. I mean, he's getting up there a little bit. Sorry, Zac Efron.
34 is getting up there.
I mean,
Easy.
I still think he's a little too old to play Johnny Storm because I want a Johnny Storm that's a little bit closer to age to Spider-Man than to, Reed and Sue. So I would appreciate, because Johnny, I believe, I'm almost certain is supposed to be like her almost like baby brother. Like that's her, like not baby brother, but like that's like my little brother.
Yeah.
So I would like I said, I think Dacre Montgomery, especially off of Stranger Things, already kind of being like a jerk brother is like just perfect to be Johnny Storm. And like, I don't know why, I just think he would bounce really well off of Tom Holland if they choose to go that route where like they do the crossover. And then like Dacre Montgomery also has like that, he also has that kind of next level he can get to drama wise to get, a little bit more emotion, especially I don't know what he did from Power Rangers to Stranger Things, but he just had like a 180 turn and like just acting ability. So that's my fan cast. But regardless, like you said, we will see.
Yeah. And I mean, at this point, if Marvel wants you, like, they're going to get you for something. Right. Because I think, you look at, I've said that, when I introed this topic was like actors have increasingly been doing this.
Right.
So they definitely take notice of the Marvel machine and knowing that if they do take this leap, into the superhero genre, that Marvel is the way to go. No shade to DC, but, Marvel has proven over, 14 years,
right? And what's funny about that is I was talking to somebody about this very thing yesterday, because I think we were talking about, I can't remember what actor it was, but we were thinking about him in the movie, and then we were just like, at some point, like every actor, like most actors in Hollywood, because we're just listing off actors and like we're like, oh shoot, they were in a superhero property. That's just how expansive. Ever since, like, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man days, and then just hitting, like, the hyperdrive once you hit 2008 with Iron Man. Like, so many actors, like, and I'm talking critically acclaimed actors, like, Oscar winning, have just been in a superhero property. So it's crazy how far that we've come from just, nobody wanted to touch those to, making that your career-defining performance. Yeah, you have to be one. Yeah.
And then it's helped springboard a lot of other people, too. Yeah. You talk about... Chris Evans, even, was kind of in the teen movie.
Yeah, he was the heartthrob teen movie guy. And
doing like B-movie comedies and stuff. And then even he tried it with Fantastic Four and it didn't really take him off anywhere.
Marvel, if I go into that theater on Thursday and he's not Johnny Storm in that movie, I walk out. I'm out.
And then he landed Captain America, played that for 12 years.
12 years, roughly, yeah. And, 2010 to 2022.
Now he's done some really great stuff, so it does serve as a springboard, and now it serves as a for other actors to jump into. Right. And, Marvel, like I said, they have their pick of the litter, especially now that they've retained all of their properties at this point.
Yeah, the Hulk is the only one, and then the Sony properties, but in Hulk are like the two finicky ones. But besides that, like the big get was the Fantastic Four and the X-Men, especially the X-Men, because now you can really
now you have a whole nother basically sandbox to play with. Yeah,
exactly.
So speaking of Doctor Strange and things that are going to be before Doctor Strange, Avatar 2 is gaining momentum.
Jeez.
So it's going to be, the trailer will be premiered before Doctor Strange. Not an accident. They're both Disney properties now, so not an accident. But the sequel has been given a name. It's been given a logo. Way of the Water is the Avatar 2 sequel slated for
amazing name.
December. It's a great name. December 16th, 2022 it will release, and then they gave us dates and titles for the subsequent films. So Avatar 3, which is going to be released 2 years from now, December 20th, 2024, is called The Seed Bearer. Then we have, it's basically 2 years in late December from here on out. So the Seed Bearer, Avatar 3, Avatar 4, The Tolkien Rider, and then Avatar 5, The Quest for Awa. So Avatar is re-entering the fold, much to people's
dismay. And I mean, we talked about this way back when we were shifting around dates, and we kind of went into our little tangent about Avatar. It's so funny to think about. Once it was 2008 and Avatar came out, that movie, it was the movie. That was the one where everybody was going. The 3D experience was just, it was too good to be true. It was one of those all-time theater experiences. And just
it's one of my favorite theater experiences ever.
It's incredible. I just remember being just young and just seeing that movie in the theater. I think, what was I, 10 when I saw that movie in the theater, maybe 9, 10. I just can't get the and it's like, now looking back on it with the knowledge I know about movies, like the sound scope of that movie is just absolutely phenomenal. The score itself, and just, I am a big proponent of world building. Like, it's a masterclass in it.
I think the thing that gets people about this movie is, A, like nothing happens, people say. B, that nobody remembers who the characters are, what the story was, but honestly, as crazy as to say, that's not the point.
That isn't the point, no.
Like, the movie is literally built upon being like a technical marvel. It's basically James Cameron being like, hey, look at this.
Remember, Dune just suffered from the same thing, especially after the Oscars didn't help, because the whole argument was that Dune isn't a good movie, it's just a technically well-made movie, and I was like, that's what visual storytelling is.
Yeah, those things aren't mutually exclusive.
Yeah, I don't, like, it's fine. That one thing is, it doesn't make it a bad movie, and the acting is fine. I mean, exceptional in both movies.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think Dune is probably a good comp to it, because
I think you're right. Yeah,
it's just, it was the technical movie that swept every award, but then once it came down to the acting, the Academy's not going to nominate you for acting in any of those because you're a science fiction movie. They're just not, unless it's something that's like, you know.
And most of the time, in Avatar's case, you're a CG character.
Right, you're saying that's just not going to happen. Yeah. So, regardless, awards shouldn't define the movies, and I think Avatar is just, like I said, one of the just greatest marvels that we've ever seen come to screen.
It launched an entire kind of genre of film.
Yeah, it did.
As far as the 3D boom, and you can say what you want about the successes or failures of 3D movies. That's honestly on all these other studios that try to do it. You know what I mean? Avatar, to this day, is still the best movie I've ever seen in 3D, and it's not. We talked about it a bit, and it's not because it's got the train coming out of the screen 3D effect. It does things subtly. It immerses you in the world, and that was the best use of the 3D.
Especially, something I remember specifically is, especially when he's first introduced and he's first kind of accepted into their tribe, and I just remember just like the little features leaves started hitting the screen, and it's small stuff, and what that does is kind of just immerses you in that world and just makes you feel like as if you're a character from a point of view in that world, watching him kind of, you know, take this trek in this journey to, you know, be introduced to something that's very, you know, foreign to him, but something that can also be home to him.
Yeah, I remember the scene for me for that as when he and Zoe Saldana's character are in the woods, the forest area at nighttime when they go to see, I think it's like the Tree of Souls or something like that, and it's just the little, like, the lightning part, like the light particles are like it literally feels like you could reach out and grab them.
Right.
But it's those subtle things that like just immerse you. It feels like you're on like a ride.
Right.
Like a Disney ride.
Yeah, and like not just the scope of the film, like another scene that, and I just don't know why this scene's just etched in stone. It's just the absolute just, defeat and pandemonium of when the humans kind of start tearing down Pandora and like they start taking the cranes out. And I just vividly remember that piece of score. It just blared through my mind for like days on end, and just kind of seeing like, and Zoe Saldana, and I even said this during the Adam Project, every movie she's in, she just injects just this raw emotion. It doesn't matter, and it just kind of ignites just all the other actors' dramatic performances when she does it too. So
yeah.
It makes for such a great experience.
I was going to say, go back and watch it, but it's getting a re-release in September. So
Are we going to be there?
I'm going to be there.
Me too. It's 100%.
I would love to go back and see that thing in a theater because, especially now that I'm older and can appreciate those things a little bit better than I did when I first saw it. And then last but not least, the DC News Corner, as I've named it.
You know how news like news broadcasts, they have like sports and weather? We have DC.
This is the DC News segment because it feels like every week that they are doing 55 different things, or actors are getting arrested, or actors are in court for something.
Yeah.
Petitions are being signed.
Yeah.
But yeah, so first, a trio of cancellations and scrappings of projects from the CW world, the Arrowverse. Batwoman is officially done. Season 3 will be the last season as it finishes, and that will be it. And then, kind of a surprising one for me, Legends of Tomorrow is just going to be done after the season, and they're not going to get kind of a send-off, which I think is odd.
Little disappointing, too, because of... I think Legends of Tomorrow deserves a little bit of an Arrow Season 8, because I do think that the Flash season... What is it going to be by that time? Season 9. Also, the Flash 1,000,000% deserves just the character itself. And then Grant Gustin, I think, earns like a, Oliver Queen level send-off. Maybe without the crossover, but still same
Before
concept.
He becomes the Flash in the movies.
That you would hope. You would hope. No, but seriously, Legends of Tomorrow... It's so funny. I was doing a massive... You remember this. I was doing a full Arrowverse rewatch. I had an Excel sheet with in order every episode. So basically you watch the first 2 seasons of Arrow, then it's Arrow Flash. And then you get to Flash Season 2, Arrow Season 4, and then it's Flash Legends Arrow. And I was doing that all the way up through Batwoman. I was doing that. And it just... Legends had the craziest just pivot, because Legends was... To be honest with you, for a little bit, Legends was the most serious show on the CW, and then Legends said, what if we didn't take ourselves so seriously? And it just turned, once season 3 hit, it just turned to the most ridiculous show I'd ever seen. And I think it made it a little bit better.
Yeah. And like I said, it's just surprising that they would just end it, a show going 7 seasons and not getting like a proper send-off is odd, but I think it has a lot to do with the Discovery merger and them trying to kind of like umbrella everything that is DC under kind of one thing.
Superman and Lois, I think, takes a little bit of maybe just a sliver of accountability, because I think they're really high on that show, and I want to make sure that show gets all the budget it needs and all the attention it needs as well.
Plus, they spent all their budget on that Metallica song.
They did.
Flash episode.
Flash Rode the Lightning this week.
Did it better than Wonder Woman did in Wonder Woman 84.
Yeah, he did. A lot of things do better than Wonder Woman 84.
Flash still has its moments.
It does. It does. Just it's ridiculous, but you buy it.
Yeah.
You buy it.
But, I mean, we talked a few weeks ago about how Legends had introduced Booster Gold at the end of this last season with Donald Faison playing
Missed
Booster
opportunity
Gold.
to put Zach Braff as...
That's what I mean. Like, I feel like there's enough juice there to get, like, an 8-episode kind of series.
Well, I mean, wasn't the original idea they were supposed... Well, I mean, the original idea from DC as a whole was to have the Booster Gold and Blue Beetle movie. I'm pretty sure with Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum. That was the original idea, and have it be like a buddy cop comedy.
Yep.
And then that got scrapped, and then... I think the next idea was to do the show itself, because they had been teasing Ted Kord since like the first episode of Arrow in season 1, and then have it go that way, and then we get here and you have a lob off the backboard just to get Zach Braff in there and have him be Blue Beetle and just have them. But no, Legends is over.
It's just ending.
It was I love
great run.
Yeah, Rip Hunter is one of my favorite characters. I don't know why. He's perfect.
Yeah, great run for Legends of Tomorrow. Definitely not a show a lot of people expected a ton from when it was announced. But they made the most of it.
Right, they did. They definitely did make the most of it.
Did a great job of utilizing some lesser-known kind of characters, too. And doing a lot of great work with the characters that they previously had introduced.
Right.
Especially the character of Sarah Lance, portrayed by Katie Lotz since Arrow season 2.
Yeah.
She's one of the OGs, honestly, of the Arrowverse.
Her and our boy Brandon Routh, Ray Palmer also.
Yep, Brandon Routh. Talk about Wentworth Miller.
Yeah, Wentworth Miller, 100%.
As Captain Cold. That Legends of Tomorrow was really where that character got to shine.
Right.
You really got to see his transition from villain to hero in his time with Legends of Tomorrow. So a lot of great characters, a lot of great moments. I mean, you talk about the relationship between Martin Stein and Jefferson Jackson.
Oh, that scene still gets me. It still gets me. I don't know why.
Victor Garber is just another great get.
Yeah, he is. Victor Garber was really another big thing about him. Just a Broadway trained actor as well. I think that helps a lot. I mean, it helps with the younger actors too.
Yeah. And then the third cancellation, you may have remembered a couple weeks ago when we briefly touched upon the casting for the Wonder Twins project. That's done.
It's over.
It's over.
KJ App is punching air. He's got to do another season of Riverdale.
It's over before it began.
Yeah. It's over in Wonder Twins. We have the high ground. That's
just a baffling maneuver to me. That they would be like, we're doing this.
Just make the movie. What's the worst thing that's going to happen?
Yeah, it's Morbius.
Right.
Good.
Yeah. You made it a hilariously bad movie. It's perfect.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing over there. I really don't. But then you transition to the good stuff that they're doing. First and foremost, the Kite Man spinoff.
Yeah, the Kite Man spinoff. Yeah, that Harley Quinn universe has got a lot of steam.
So good. I can't believe
the satire is it's top tier.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's so good. Kaylee Cuoco has officially thrown her hat in the ring as being a phenomenal Harley Quinn voice actress.
And just a pretty good actress overall, from the flight attendant as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, just like you said, the satire for every character, top to bottom.
It's like the whole Peacemaker thing, but even times 10 because they're allowed to do even more because it's not live action, so...
Yeah, Bane is one of my favorites. They gave him the goofy Tom Hardy Dark Knight Rises voice, but with the comic book Bane look, which is hilarious.
Is it Damian that's in the show? Damian Wayne's in the... Yeah.
Damian Wayne is Robin.
Oh my god, it's so good.
As like a brat. Batman is like hilariously like the straight man character. Jim Gordon is like a crackpot.
Yeah, no, it's great. He's just defeated. He's just like, I've lived in Gotham. This place absolutely stinks.
It's an arc that I could definitely see the Jeffrey Wright Jim Gordon.
Oh my god, I just want him to... Because obviously by the time Batman 2 comes out, he's going to probably be the commissioner because, one, he took down Carmine Falcone. And the whole Batman project he was working with, it worked. So, Batman's in good grace with Gotham at this point. So, yeah, and then just Jeffrey Wright slowly just says, this place kind of stinks.
But a lot of good things to like about that. Kite Man is an hilarious addition to that show, so I'm looking forward to what they do with that project. And then the other one was just passed through the newswire earlier today. Viola Davis is apparently going to star in a Suicide Squad spinoff for Amanda Waller.
Now, is this a movie or is this a HBO Max series?
I think it's an HBO Max series. Unclear if it's the project that James Gunn was referring to month ago or so, when he was talking about how he was working on another Suicide Squad character for a project.
Right.
It's unclear if this is it, but I mean, you get Viola Davis for a thing, good.
Yeah, it's probably going to be pretty solid.
Yeah.
Not looking at you, Suicide Squad 2016, but it's probably going to be solid.
Doesn't need a villain because Amanda Waller is the villain.
I pitched this idea before we hopped on that because you said, I asked who's the villain going to be, and you were just like, Viola Davis is Amanda Waller, and I said, you know what would be absolutely hilarious? Just her doing normal things for like 2 hours. Just her going to like the grocery store.
Yeah.
Just her like clocking in for work. Just her just
being a menace.
Yeah,
to whoever
just doing emails. Just sending out emails.
Just with like a scowl on her face, that Viola Davis scowl.
For 2 hours straight. And that's it. That's the movie.
Yeah. But yeah, that could be cool.
Obviously, her daughter.
Yep.
I thought that's the point where you're supposed to say her what?
No, that's not big enough. That's not a big enough twist.
Oh, okay, sorry. But yeah, Adebayo from Peacemaker, obviously her daughter's...
Outed her.
What's up?
Outed her,
yeah. So it makes sense that's probably where this show's going to pick up, so... Because she's going to... presumably what might happen is she might try to reform Task Force X in this show. just under
and everyone's just like, get out of here, Amanda Waller.
Yeah.
It's just like a series of her going door to door, being like, would you like to be in Task Force
Just obscure
X?
DC characters, yeah. On Fall Off Boy. Nah, I'm good.
I'm good. I'm out of here. She's like the evil Nick Fury.
Yeah.
Speaking of James Gunn, I don't know why this just pops back into my head, but some stills from Guardians 3.
Yeah.
That Star-Lord costume. Mm-hmm. I'm in. I'm all the way in.
I'm in. So they're taking, I believe, whatever run. I think it was the mid-2000s run.
Yeah.
Of Guardians of the Galaxy. And it's kind of famous because that's where it's like the 2014 movie team, like Drax, Gamora, Rocket, Groot, Star-Lord, like that team, like those costumes, like they're being used. So they look like one definitive team now. Obviously, that's going to come after the presumable success of Thor Love and Thunder, and everybody's going to be itching to see what happens after for them. But that's pretty big, but the other side to the coin is the high evolutionary piece to it, because on the set photos it was a whole bunch of just creepy looking animal human hybrids, which is notoriously what the high evolutionary is known for, played by the not villain of Peacemaker. What was his name in Peacemaker? Murph. Yeah, he did a great job in Peacemaker.
Peacemaker, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, it's great. It's so good. So yeah, I couldn't be. I'm excited for it. It's gonna be. It's the send off for a lot of the characters. He said. I mean, once we get to there, we'll theorize. We'll definitely go back through the Guardians movies. I know we already talked about Guardians 1. We'll probably go through Guardians 2 and maybe Thor and the Avengers movies to see their. Same thing we did with Doctor Strange last week. We'll probably talk about their trek through the MCU and what's changed and James Gunn's effect and what I still believe is my favorite MCU movie, Guardians of the Galaxy 1.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Transitioning to main topic number 1, CinemaCon.
I'm calling ISO. I'm calling an ISO place. So I get to talk about. So I get to talk about movies for a little bit. Films, if I may.
Yeah, all the nerds got together and talked about movies.
Yeah, and I wasn't invited. Damn it. So, CinemaCon 2022. It was here, and I can't believe this is the first headline from CinemaCon 2022, but Barbie, directed by Greta Gerwig, starring Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling, is a thing. Mm-hmm. And it's releasing the same day as one of our founding fathers of this podcast itself, Oppenheimer. That's going to be one of the best double features. And listen, all right, so we have this first still image for Barbie. I can't believe we're talking about Barbie in this way on here. Look how far we've come. We're basically the MCU, because think about it. When we first started, we were high and mighty. We were like, we're going to talk about some good movies, some good superhero content, some good fandom content. And now I'm talking about Barbie in live action.
Will Ferrell is in this movie?
Will Ferrell's in this movie.
Michael Cera,
Simu Liu's in this movie.
America Ferrera is back.
Yeah.
Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants.
Yeah, what is this, 2007? This is a 2007 movie trapped in a 2022 movie. Or 23
Ray's
movie.
in this?
Mm-hmm.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah.
What are we talking about? Barbie.
Yeah. So, same day as
Barbie v. Oppenheimer.
Right. I mean, main thing to be excited about is obviously Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling, 2 award-nominated actors. And then on top of that, for me personally, Greta Gerwig, her third feature off the back of, the absolute success of Lady Bird, being one of the revelations of 20...
Crazy.
Yeah.
The crazy arc.
I know, right? One of the revelations of 2016, and obviously Little Women. Surprised she didn't give the role to Saoirse Ronan, because that's her homegirl and her main cast. She's basically her De Niro to Martin Scorsese at this point, but hey, maybe she'll make a cameo. maybe we'll get her in there. But yeah, Barbie.
Your move, Nolan.
Yeah, your move, Nolan. Now you got to buy an actual nuclear bomb.
Oh, that's such a fun pairing.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely hilarious. I hope none of these movies get moved. I need these movies to come out on the same. I need it. I need it. Because once the first trailer for Barbie comes out and it's going to be like, actually credible, and it's going to be like, oh crap, this is like...
I hope they just can maintain this duel for like the whole time. It's like the Barbie trailer drops and then the Oppenheimer trailer drops.
Yeah, no, they're intertwined in fate now. This is basically Thanos and Iron Man. They're intertwined. All right, enough about Barbie and Oppenheimer. Top Gun debuted at CinemaCon.
The whole thing.
And man, the reviews I'm talking were overly positive. They're saying it's better than the original Top Gun. It's one of the best action movies of this year and past years to come. I said this, I think way back when I talked about Top Gun Maverick, and I said from that first trailer, there's times, and then I guess it's just my eyes and my brain being trained over the last couple of years. You just know. There's just certain movies you just know. Morbius. I knew from the day they announced it. I knew. Top tier cinema. But no, a lot of they're saying technically this movie is like an absolute just achievement. A lot of the dogfight scenes they have in air are just, they're just, you can't take your eyes off the screen. It's just you're enthralled the entire time. Tom Cruise just continues to impress. They're saying Miles Teller is, I believe Miles Teller is supposed to be Val Kilmer's son in this movie, if I'm not mistaken. So that's going to be a really interesting dynamic. So I cannot wait. It's coming out the 27th. We have already agreed we are going to review this movie. So yeah, I just cannot wait to see just one of my cult classic movies that I used to watch as a kid, back when I was a kid in the 80s. Right. No, but seriously, I can't wait for this movie to come out. Technically it just looks so good, and just, man, 80s nostalgia, man, it's working.
Yeah. I forget when we talked about this, but, Tom Cruise historically does not go back to roles.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Mission Impossible is really the only one.
Which I'm going to talk about too.
And then for them to get him back to do another Top Gun movie is of note. Mm-hmm. It means it's something that he's really passionate about and really wants to do. So, I'm looking forward to it. I know Tom Cruise has, over the years, become kind of like a meme. Right. Kind of like a caricature of a person rather than an actual person, but he is one of the founding fathers of modern action movies, and, deserves that respect as such. I
agree. And that's perfect transition into Mission Impossible 7. Mm-hmm. And I might nerd out for a little bit because I have two things, but Mission Impossible 7, it has got its title, and I think we have like one just, silhouette image of Tom Cruise running, because what else does Tom Cruise do in action movies? But the title is Dead Reckoning Part 1. I suggest we drop the dead and just have it called Reckoning Part 1, but who am I to judge, in the great words of Caecilius? Who am I to judge? But so this Mission Impossible franchise just hit a second leg, and it was one thing that happened. Christopher McQuarrie took over as director of these films, and it was the modern age. And I always said what a lot of franchises do is they get complacent. They say, people are going to go see this. We don't care how ridiculous this gets. Who cares? But then Christopher McQuarrie came on, and he just said, what if we, try to make a credible movie? And then I saw Mission Impossible Fallout, and I was like, this is just, dare I say, one of the best action movies, period. It sounds radical, but when you see the movie for the first time, so many of the way they set up these scenes, and then just down to like the story framing itself, and like the story structure is really solid. It's really compelling, but technically that movie is a marvel. And one thing I really love about Christopher McQuarrie, if you follow him on anything, one thing he really does is like, he's really an educator too. So like, he's really like, interactive with the fans. Like he'll tell them like, I think he'll tell you like, even like what camera they used for this, like how they did this, like even story structure, he'll tell you. Like, I really appreciate that as somebody that wants to make movies as well. Just a really genius mind. He worked with him on Jack Reacher, I believe it was, and that was kind of the start. And then obviously you get to the newer Mission Impossible movies, and they're just making credible sequels that actually hold weight, and they hold up against other action movies just all time. And Mission Impossible Fallout, it's literally on my short list for action movies ever. And it's just a marvel. So I'm super excited. Obviously we're doing that part 1, part 2 thing, because that's the fun thing to do in Hollywood nowadays.
Because everyone's chasing Marvel. Yeah.
But something about it, I'm all on board for. No Henry Cavill is sad, but
that's a theme.
Yeah, that's a theme. No Henry Cavill. Sorry.
He's been blackballed.
Except for The Witcher. You can always be The Witcher.
Yeah, you can always be The Witcher, Henry Cavill. He's got that.
Right. All right. We already talked about Avatar, Way of the Water. Only thing we didn't talk about is there's some still images that's floating around on the internet. Just looks absolutely wonderful. How many years in the future did they say this is? I can't remember how many years.
I can't remember either.
But it's a X amount of years in the future. He's got kids at this point. Sam Worthington and Zoe Saldana have kids. Cool. I can't wait. There's something, and it's funny. So I was watching Tron the other day, Tron Legacy. I will. You know how everybody has their guilty pleasure movie? That's my guilty pleasure movie that I'll die on the hill that's just an absolutely amazing movie. It's a combination of the visuals and the soundtrack, regardless of the story. But there's something about Disney spectacle that I used to get when I was a kid that I guess Marvel's kind of taken over. But back in the day, it used to be the Disney brand big movies, and like that was one of them. And now we're here, and Avatar, like, I mean, we just talked about it for like 15 minutes, but same concept. It's just these big spectacle movies with these critically acclaimed directors that, you know, are like the founding fathers of, you know, either modern age cinema or like older cinema, that are just, you know, showing them why they are where they are. And thank you, James Cameron. Never change.
Yeah, James Cameron gonna hit the people that y'all must have forgotten when this movie comes out.
Right. So did you not know that I went 5 million feet under sea level to film Titanic? All right, David O. Russell's back. Obviously for American Hustle and Silver Linings Playbook fame, to direct Amsterdam, which has a pretty solid cast to start. It's got Christian Bale, Margot Robbie, and the newly famous, I don't even want to say newly famous, but John David Washington, who even knows who his father is. But yeah, I'm all for this. Apparently, I believe this is a piece set in 1925 in Amsterdam, where they're trying to uncover some world secrets, I believe this was explained as. So,
neat.
I mean, apparently American Hustle has a lot of haters. I did not know this, but
I really liked American Hustle.
Me too, but specifically for me, Silver Linings Playbook is one of those movies that you hold near and dear. I remember the first time I watched that. I watched that in high school. Just really, Bradley Cooper and Jennifer Lawrence just gave two
of the best Jennifer Lawrence performances.
Yeah, back to right.
And then Silver Linings Playbook.
Right. So yeah, David O. Russell's back. Got a really great cast, so I can't wait to see that. What else do we got? Quiet Place part prequel.
Yeah, it's a prequel.
Yeah, so it's called Quiet Place Day 1, and we said, what's Quiet... Didn't they already do Quiet Place Day 1 and Quiet Place Part 2? And then we said, this is just going to be a normal day. It's going to be the Amanda Waller movie, just a quiet... just nothing's happening. It's just John Krasinski and Emily Blunt having a family. That's it.
Yeah.
Imagine it's just a family drama. That would be absolutely hilarious. It's like the Army of Thieves, Army of the Dead thing.
Yeah.
It's perfect. All right. I know you're excited about this one. I'm excited about it for a completely different reason, but I think we meet in the middle for Tobey Maguire.
Oh, yes.
He's back.
He's back.
He's back making movies.
Good.
After you guys bullied him for X amount of years, he's back.
After he bullied us.
He bullied us, and then we bullied him back. He's back. No bullying. Bullying must cease.
Correct.
So, Damien Chazelle, one of the best young filmmakers in the world, hot off of... he's done... his biggest movie is easily La La Land, but also Whiplash, which I know a lot of people think is just pure, just art displayed with one of the greatest performances by J.K. Simmons, which won him an award, obviously. But he's back for Babylon, starring Brad Pitt and Margot Robbie, if I'm not mistaken.
Margot Robbie is all over this.
Oh my gosh, she's all over this. She can't help herself. She's the it girl. She's the it woman in Hollywood. So yes, it's just her and Anne d'Armes just fighting for who's going to be it. Anne d'Armes needs to step into a superhero role to get this, because she's got Harley Quinn. Anne d'Armes needs to do something. What is she going to do? What's Marvel got left? Anne d'Armes is Jean Grey.
She's going to be an X-Men of some sort.
Yeah, she has to be. Anne d'Armes as Sue Storm. Emily Blunt just punching air somewhere. That's my husband. But yes, Babylon, I believe this is a film set during the silent era of Hollywood. That's Damien Chazelle's bag. He's classically trained. He's like
Maguire is playing?
Charlie Chaplin.
Yes!
Let's do this.
Get him a weird little mustache and a top hat.
Yes.
Send him on his way.
Yeah. It's going to be great. And all the Spider-Man fans are going to see this movie.
Yeah.
And then all the me's are going to also see this movie.
All the nerds,
all the film nerds, and all the Tobey Maguire stuff. It's perfect. It's a perfect storm. Shout out Tobey Maguire. So yeah, Babylon's coming out. Mm-hmm. I can't wait, because Damien Chazelle, and even technically Damien Chazelle, has helped me a lot. Had a really... Personally, I've emailed this guy.
He came to your house.
Yeah, he came to my house and he taught me how to make movies. And then we had dinner and he left. It was perfect. But no, yeah, he's helped me a lot technically, just being like a younger filmmaker that's just absolutely obsessed with movies. So yeah, I can't wait to see his next project. We have if you thought the Hunger Games was over, boy, were you wrong. 2013's knocking at your door. And
I got them right there on my bookshelf.
Do you really? There it is.
Right
You
there.
have Catching Fire right there.
Yeah, I don't know where the other two
Catching
are.
Fire, the best Hunger Games movie out of the whole...
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even think
it's legitimately, like...
an actual good
pretty
movie.
good, yeah.
It's like... Because the first one's the first one. It was pretty... The first one was, like, indie feeling almost. Like, that felt like almost like an indie movie. Because that's when, like, the young adult genre was really hitting its stride.
Yep.
And then Catching Fire came out, and they were like, what if they made an actual good movie? And they
like, hold on a second, we got something here.
And then they got the Mockingbird, and they were like, no, just kidding.
Mockingbird, it was Mockingbird Part 2.
Yeah,
Part 2 is...
I think Part 1 had to reconcile because you basically upended everything that you did, and just narratively, the book, the movie, like, it didn't matter what, medium it was coming
Catching
from.
Fire, also the best book.
Right.
So
Yeah, it's the most narratively compelling because it's finally, like, it's the winner's circle of people trying to kill each other.
Good premise
and then it's like, the whole thing that you're doing gets upended at the end, and basically the revolution starts. 75 years in the making.
Yeah.
With a really good character in Katniss Everdeen, but
yeah,
we're back. It's a prequel, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. There's probably going to be some revolting.
Yep.
Shout out Hunger Games.
Young President Snow.
Young President Snow.
Young Donald Sutherland.
Yeah, just de-age Donald Sutherland. If we could do it to Mark Hamill, we can do it to Donald Sutherland. Maybe just have Kiefer Sutherland play young Donald Sutherland. just spitballing here.
That'd be fun.
That would be fun. It'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm looking forward to this.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be a thing.
I'll see it.
Yeah, of course.
I'll just see.
Oh my god! When I was in middle school, Hunger Games was the only thing people talked about. Anne de Armas is in a John Wick spinoff.
Yep.
Ballerina.
Yep.
She
good.
Did her training during No Time to Die, which is good. She
was great.
I loved her. It was the perfect role.
She was not in it nearly long enough.
Like 15 minutes, had a good fight scene, had some youthful exuberance with Bond, like this guy that's just literally been doing this his whole life, and she's just like, this is my first mission, I'm a little nervous, but I can fight though. So it was a fun time. John Wick is the perfect example of having the top. I mean, we've talked about the John Wick crew on here multiple times being now the action crew that you want in Hollywood for hand-to-hand fight sequences. So
that's who's doing the Ghost of Tsushima film.
Oh my god, I can't wait. That game. Maybe we just review Ghost of Tsushima one week.
That'd be fun. I'd be down to do that. Yeah. Yeah, good for her.
Yeah. I'm telling you, her and Margot Robbie are battling for that spot.
They're in the undercard of the John Watts, John Krasinski fight.
It is, the Battle of the Johns. What else do I got? And then Olivia Wilde debuted her trailer for Don't Worry, Darling, and Rob's smiling at me because notoriously her and Jason Sudeikis were together. No, they're not. I didn't think I was going to talk about this, and look where we are. I'm talking about it. I told you before we hopped on, I'm not going to talk about this, and here we are talking about it. So
she got served.
She did get served. This is serious. This is no lies. This is actual real life things that happen. She was served divorce papers, I believe. Right?
Or custody papers.
Custody papers, I think it was. Whatever it was. She was served while she was presenting the film trailer to the world.
Wow. Jason Sudeikis
makes 2 seasons of Ted Lasso, and look what he does.
Absolute power move.
Madman.
But yeah, to go about the movie.
Right, yeah. Movie looks good. Obviously, Olivia Wilde off of Booksmart just being, I guess, 2018's feel-good movie. A movie that so many young people needed that year.
This is the Florence Pugh movie, right?
Right, correct. So Harry Styles, Florence Pugh, Chris Pine is back, and people are forgetting any allocation that hit this man, apparently. Mm-hmm. I think we promised that we won't get into that, and we won't. But yeah, looks interesting. It's what's the movie that Tobey Maguire was in when it was the 1950s or whatever, and Pleasantville. It's got a inkling of Pleasantville vibes mixed with I don't know, Midsummer, I guess, because Florence Pugh, but it's basically this, just 1950s house husband, housewife, you need to be a good housewife type of vibe, if you play Nuketown and Call of Duty, kind of that. Yeah. But seriously, it's supposed to be classic 1950s, and then basically everything gets upended. It's just creepy and weird, and really, I really want to see this because Olivia Wilde made like a young adult like feel good movie, and then she's making something that's like a complete turn from it. So I'm looking forward to it. Looked interesting. A lot of people were talking about the trailer afterwards. So yeah, can't wait. Right, and then Florence Pugh's making a silent case to be that third partner for the Anne de Armas Margot Robbie race. Wait till Dune Part 2 comes out. The love square that's going to go on with Fade and Fade and Timothy, or what's his name? Who's playing him? Austin Butler, Timothy, Florence Pugh, and Zendaya. It's gonna have Twitter in a hot flash.
Can't wait.
And yeah, we just saw footage of Lightyear. We saw I think they showed the first 30 minutes of Lightyear. They showed the first 20 minutes of Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness. They showed some clips from Black Panther 2: Wakanda Forever, and they showed footage from Black Adam. And Matt Reeves spoke and announced that the Batman sequel, Two Man, is in production. Surprise. And now the fans are going to go crazy with their expectations because I guess they just assume this is going to be a Mr. Freeze movie and this is going to be... Yeah.
People have already put their flag in that.
Incorrect. It's going to be Condiment Man is going to be the villain.
Hopefully.
Who's playing Condiment Man? Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson is Condiment Man.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Let me cast, Hollywood. If you guys want some Morbius level movies, let me cast. That's me talking about movies for the last 20 minutes.
That's good.
Yeah.
A lot of good stuff coming.
I love movies. Movies are cool. Yeah. Hey, CinemaCon, can you invite me next year though? That'd be nice. You know what's my goal? I'm stamping my flag in the ground. I will have something shown at CinemaCon next year. And if I
next year?
Yeah.
All right.
Gotta be ambitious.
I'm here for it.
If it's not next year, it's gonna be the year after. And if it's not that year, it'll be the year after.
All right. So that was it. Good job, nerds. Film corner.
Good job, film nerds. Now on the Marvel nerds. Back to our bag.
No, back to actual art.
Morbius 2 is announced. Back to actual art. Matt Smith dancing in the apartment in Morbius.
Moon Knight has been out for the last 5 weeks.
Been the talk of the town.
It has been.
It's so I think about it and it's the WandaVision. I think about it every time. Every time I think one of these shows is going to be like, oh, nobody's going to talk about this, it just comes right back. Viral tweets. Yep. Just every post is about Moon Knight. Marvel really has a handle on keeping people engaged week after week and it being like, I mean, nothing's going to reach, unless it's like a main character gets a show and it's just absolutely just nuts things happening. I don't think anything's going to reach the Euphoria / Game of Thrones level of week to week. Like, I need to watch this. But, I mean, it's getting up there. Especially, WandaVision theories just ran rampant. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, John Walker was a nut. Loki was Loki, obviously. What else did we have? Hawkeye. Obviously, having a main Avenger helps you, and Haley Steinfeld also helps you too. What If was the only one that was a little, less talked about, but it was animated, so some people just, I guess, refuse to watch animated properties, even though it's the same characters.
Yeah.
And then obviously we're on to Moon Knight now, so yeah, pretty good.
Very good.
Pretty good.
I've been enjoying it. It's, I think what's important when you talk about why all these Marvel shows are kind of able to maintain a level of momentum and have people talking about them is because one is not similar to the other.
Right. This is
the character study.
This is the character study, and it's really, again, it's a testament to, and I don't even think we talked about the two anniversaries. So today is the anniversary of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. Just funny enough, 2 days before people have already seen Multiverse of Madness. So 20 years before he made, a groundbreaking piece of movie. And then 20 years later, he makes another groundbreaking piece of superhero content. But it's so crazy. So 14 years ago yesterday, Iron Man came out. Iron Man, when you look at it comparatively, is just asking... If Iron Man didn't have the Marvel tag on it, and it was just a guy that just made a suit that was a billionaire, it would probably still be like a credible movie that people go see and enjoy. It's just... We've gotten to the point where, spoiler alert, so get out of here, we have like just hippo deities walking around and everything's just normal.
I was thinking about that, literally watching that episode.
And people watch it intently and break this down. It's just, look how far we've come.
Yeah, so I don't even know where to start with this show as far as like giving like the breakdown or like the synopsis because it's so bonkers.
It is.
Because we open with Stephen Grant, who's just like this unassuming British fop, for lack of a better word. He has some sort of issue because we see him waking up in his bedroom and he's chained to the bed and we're like, what is happening?
Right. This is completely different than anything we've ever seen. It's not a character that we know.
Because we just get dropped in.
Right,
no,
we
like,
do.
Introduction.
Right.
We're just like, all right, I guess we're just along for the ride.
Something that I like they do is something's off. That's another good thing this show does immediately. It's like something's wrong.
What I love about the first episode, and I think I might have said this before, was it puts you on the same playing field as Stephen Grant.
Right.
You're like, what is happening?
Right.
And he is also like, what is happening?
Yeah. Right.
Which I love that part about it. So yeah, he's into he works in a museum. He's very into like Egyptian, culture and he's like the guy at the museum who's like working for way less than he should be working for.
Right, just being treated like crap by his manager, like that's just
relatable. Because he's trying to like do better and like be, he wants to be like a tour guide and they're like, nah, you're too much of a weirdo to be a tour guide, Stephen Grant. Sorry. And then it's basically that first episode is like a day in the life of Stephen Grant, right? And then stuff kicks off.
Stuff does kick off. Lord does it kick off.
So like you said, we know something's off. He knows something's off. But we know more than he does because we saw Ethan Hawke in the beginning of this.
We did.
And he's this weird Jim Morrison-esque cult person.
Exactly. Right.
You're like, what is this?
He's pouring glass into his shoes.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Hated that.
He's got 90s hair. He's got Kurt Cobain hair.
Yep.
He's got a cane.
He's got a cane. He's got a magical cane that...
Ethan Hawke's like, I was in Dead Poet Society.
It weighs your soul, and then if it judges bad, you just drop dead instantly. Right. That's fun.
So comparatively, the show is still kind of, contained at this point. He goes to sleep, he chains himself up. He doesn't really want to sleep because it's like...
Something happens?
Every time I sleep, something happens. And then he goes to sleep. And then the show just hits the gas pedal because he wakes up halfway across the world with people trying to kill him, but it's Stephen Grant. And then he turns around and there's just an Egyptian god standing behind him. And he's just like, oh no, the idiot's back.
Yeah, enter Khonshu.
Enter Khonshu. Shout out Khonshu.
The Egyptian deity of judgment?
I think isn't Amit judgment and he's more like...
He's like the
take action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
supposed to be like...
He's like the fixer.
You're supposed to protect the walkers of the night and deliver justice to those who harm them. I think that's like that's the verbiage.
Later we get that.
Right.
And he's just like, oh, the idiot's back. You're like, what is happening?
What's going on?
We still don't know what's happening.
Right. So then he's halfway around the world. Then Ethan Hawke's character's there. Yep. He's a cult leader. And then he's just, like you said, he's judging people. He's judging their souls. And then this one just, middle-aged guy steps up, gets accepted. You're a good man. He's like, you're a good man. And then this old woman shows up. And she's just like,
you're a bad woman.
You're a bad woman. And he kills her.
Yeah, she just drops dead.
Yeah, and she's just like, I didn't do anything. And he's like, yet. You didn't do anything yet. And then my question is, what harm could a 80-year-old woman do?
Hey, he knows.
He knows.
And then he sees Stephen Grant, and he's like, oh, quick show of hands, who's in my group? Yeah. Everyone drops down, and Stephen Grant's like, whoop.
Yep. Oh, crap.
Busted.
I didn't do it.
And he's like, what you got in your hand there, Stephen Grant? He's like, I don't know. What do I have in my hand?
Yeah.
And then he pulls out this golden scarab thing, and he's like, where did I get this?
Yeah, and he's just like, you could have it, man. And I love how Stephen's like, he's like, I just want to go home. I don't care about any of this. Yeah, and then Khonshu presumably is like, you absolutely are not going to give that to him. So Khonshu's basically in his head, controlling him, basically like a puppet, which is, I guess, that's the whole theme of, in the, the antithesis of Stephen Grant is to be a puppet, essentially, and be the bearer. He's honestly like a voodoo doll. He's like the one that's supposed to bear all the pain for everything, which we get revealed later in the show.
Yeah,
which
and then we have what?
The moment. We have the moment.
Yeah. There's like a Stephen Grant, like his eyes roll back into his head. He's surrounded by a bunch of henchmen. Eyes roll back into his head. And then we have like a flickering on the screen. Then we return to Stephen Grant, and everybody's dead.
And he's got just blood in his hands, and he's still holding the scarab, and he's just like, you know what? I'm gonna go. I'm gonna get out of here. I'm out. I don't feel like doing this. I'm out. It steals a cupcake truck, just driving. And then the henchmen go after him, and then same thing. The henchmen jump on the truck. And his eyes rolled back in his head, and he's just got a gun, and there's just an explosion behind him, and he's just like, I don't know what's going on.
Yep.
I'm scared.
Yep. We are also not knowing what's going on.
Yeah.
I was promised a Moon Knight in this show. We haven't seen any Moon Knight.
And what this show does a really good job at too is like abruptly just cutting back to the apartment because it doesn't want to go too far. These are just teases. It's just like you don't want to give it all away just yet.
Yep.
So then he's just back because he just thinks it's a dream. And that's what really hurts, especially once we get to episode 5. One of the most emotionally heavy episodes. Just pieces of the entire MCU at this point. It hurts. Like, in hindsight, it hurts so much. It's like, this guy just thinks he's dreaming, but it's way more than that.
Yeah, and then, so we end up back at his museum at the nighttime. Then Ethan Hawke's there again. Ethan Hawke's just haunting him like a specter.
Right.
And he's like, Steven, I'm coming for you if you don't give me the thing. And he's like, I don't want to give you the thing. And then Ethan Hawke sticks a demon at him.
Right, so right before that, Steven's in his apartment, and he's just looking around, and, like, something's off. Like, there's, like, a floorboard that's scratched, so he moves the table. Table just magically makes a perfect step up into, like, this little ledge above. He reaches in, and there's a cell phone and keys in there, and he calls the number, and there's a woman on the other end. She goes, "What's wrong with you, Mark?" And he's like, "Why did you call me Mark? That's not my name. My name is Steven." And she's just like, "Can you stop messing around? I don't got time to mess around." She basically does the entire dialogue from Crimson Tide in there. He said, there's moon gods around. We don't have time to mess around. But yeah, he's very confused because it just keeps happening. Just these weird things, like this other life is starting to divulge onto him. Then he looks in a mirror, and the mirror just looks back at him, and he's like, hold on. Hold on. I'm no mathematician, but this ain't adding up. So he gets on the elevator, and there's this giant figure, Egyptian god holding a staff with a bird's beak as a head, just charging at him, and then an old woman gets on there. It's again, just doesn't give it away, just holds it and holds it and holds it. And then, like you said, we get to the museum scene, and it goes off. It happens.
Yep, he gets chased by a demon.
Right.
Demi-dog.
Again, right before that, the important thing is he does try to judge Steven, but he can't judge him because the scales won't balance themselves, which is, he's just like, I don't understand. He sits there.
It's never done this before.
Yeah, it's never done this before. I've had this for like 2 weeks. It's never done this before.
Yeah.
I'm going to return this item to Amazon. But yeah, he's like, you have, it's like the line from the trailer, there's chaos in you. So yeah, we get to the end of the episode. He's alone in the museum, gets cornered, and he goes into the bathroom. He's hiding. And then he's like, and then he looks at the mirror, and finally, who is it? But the notorious Mark Spector says, you're gonna get us killed. Give me control. And he's like, you know what? Fine, man. I don't even feel like fighting. I don't feel like it. And then we get one of the dopest endings to any of these Marvel shows. Him just... It's so cool because the way they frame it, as soon as Mark takes over and transforms into Moon Knight, the way they frame it is like the Jackal jumps on him, and then you're framed outside of the door, yeah. And then you think it's like Mark's going to get thrown out there, but then the seat goes, and then the Jackal's like trying to get away, crawling at the ground, and he's just beating the living daylights. It's awesome. Yep. It's like an awesome ending to this episode.
Great ending to the first episode because you're like, oh, I'm in.
Yeah, I'm in.
I'm in.
This is Moon Knight. Like, this is the thing. Like, this is the thing that I came for.
Yep.
I came for some Moon Knight action.
Yep. And then we get to episode 2, and it's basically the first explanation, right. I guess you could say.
Right. Right. So, basically, episode 2, titled Summon the Suit. Big thing that comes out of it is Steven, again, is like, what the heck happened last night? There's this other guy in me. There's like beings chasing, like what's happening? So they go to check the camera footage, and there's just nothing there. He's just running around aimlessly. It looks like from the security footage because
just destroyed the museum. Because you later find out that the Jackal is invisible to like the human eye.
So he gets fired basically. he goes to the storage locker because of the key that he had in there, and then he goes up to the counter, and the guy's he's like, I've never been here before, and the guy's like, what do you mean? I see you all the time in here. And he's like, excuse me? Mm-hmm. And then he goes into the storage locker, and then there's just a cot in there. There's like, it's a living space for somebody, and he's very confused. He's like, what's going on? Mm-hmm. I didn't sign the lease on this.
Yeah.
This is mine.
Yep.
And yeah, that scarab just kind of, starts pointing somewhere, and he's just like, maybe I should follow that, or maybe I should just go back to work because I'm regular Stephen Grant from the regular gift shop.
And Mark is like interspersing, being like
right now you're
like in over your head, pal.
Right? Yeah, now like the lines start getting a little bit more blurred because now Mark can like openly talk to Stephen, because episode 1 he couldn't talk to him until a moment of distress. Now it's come a little bit more synonymous.
So they always are like in some sort of reflective space,
right, to
be able to like go face to face with each other,
right. Yep. And then they're talking to each other. He's kind of giving him a little bit more information. He's telling them, I'm Mark Spector. Like, you're the other half. I'm not the other half. You're the other half. And then again, this creepy Khonshu scenes where he just shows up and is just like, buddy, stop being a bumbling idiot and give Mark the body.
Yeah,
we don't have time for this.
You're really screwing things up here.
Yeah, buddy. And then boom, Layla shows up. A fan favorite. Layla shows up. A lot of people have really liked Layla from the show. I think she's pretty cool because, one, she's not a damsel in distress. She can definitely take care of herself.
Steven's the damsel in distress.
Steven is and it works. It 100% works with him being the damsel in distress.
Just taking a step back, just Oscar Isaac.
So good.
Playing these dual roles
but mainly because, listen, we knew he was going to be good as Mark Spector.
We'll talk about it more probably in episode 5, because episode 5 is really where the duality shines. So we'll talk about him probably in more detail in episode 5, but just early on, just him, he does a great job of establishing Steven and Mark.
Yeah, it is. But Steven is where Mark, because he shines. Because like I said, he's going to be good as like the cool, the cool superhero, Moon Knight, Mark Spector, hired gun turned super, cool. But the bumbling idiot Stephen Grant that works at a gift shop and is just so mild-mannered, that's where I think he really shines.
From the gift shop.
Steven from the gift shop.
As Ethan Hawke refers to him as.
That's the only way I'm going to refer to him now on. Boom, mic drop, Layla's his wife, but Mark's wife. Miss Mysterio girl, Stephen Grant. So they go back to the apartment. She's just like, can you stop? Can you stop
being an idiot?
Yeah, can you stop messing around?
Like, I don't know how else to be.
Yeah, she's just like, why do you have a British accent? Like, what are you doing? He's just like, I'm telling you, this isn't, I'm not lying.
Steven's me and I is Steven.
I am Steven. This is me. And then these two quote unquote police officers show up, and they're just like, hey man, remember when you destroyed that bathroom?
He's like, yeah, I thought we settled that.
He's like, nah, come with us. And then he's halfway around the world again. He's in a cult.
And guess who's there?
Ethan Hawke.
This is a theme of these first 5 episodes, is Ethan Hawke just inexplicably shows up, and I love that.
Yeah, it's
so throwbacky villain type behavior.
Yeah, it's
where
great.
He just appears.
Yeah, so, but it's a really smart the way they do it is Ethan Hawke. It's a good way to introduce your villain, because it's the way they introduce him to Mark the second time is like, I'm not a threat, I'm just really trying to help you. And what he does is he tries to play on the fact that Khonshu's kind of controlling him. It's just like,
and he knows this.
Yeah, he's like, I know he's in your head because he was in my head. It's not too fun. It's not fun. It's painful. And
look at all these people I'm helping.
Yeah, look at this. That guy's eating soup. It's a great time.
This place was riddled with crime, and now it's just riddled with people.
Yeah, now look at it. These people are happy. So yeah. Ethan Hawke's like, I was in Boyhood. I'm just gonna keep naming movies that Ethan Hawke was in this whole time. So get ready. So yeah, it's the classic cult leader culting it up. So he's like trying to sell him on the whole dream, and then Mark's like, you know what? I'm good. I just love Mark's perspective. He's like, or not Mark. Steven's like, I'm good. I'm gonna go home. You guys got it.
And he's like, all right. I'll let you go home, but you got to give me the scarab.
He's like,
I don't have the scarab.
Whoop-de-doo. Layla's got it. Layla's like, and then Layla, logically was like, can you stop messing around now? It's been enough time. Summon the suit. And he's just
she's like, can you become Moon Knight now? Yeah, and he's like, I don't know what that means.
What is that? What's a Moon Knight? What's a Moon Knight?
What is that? What even is that?
Yeah. So basically, another Jackal's back. And boy, did this have Twitter divided for a little bit. Basically,
big long chase scene.
Yeah, big long chase scene. Steven jumps out a window. He's like,
Mark's like, you gotta let me take over. And Steven's like, absolutely not.
Yeah, and he's just so Mark's like, summon the suit. And he's like, all right, summon the suit. And he lands in like a 3-piece wool white suit with a white mask on and glowing eyes. And he's
Mr. Knight.
Mr. Knight. They did the comic thing. Mr. Knight.
Yep.
Shout out Jeff Lemire. So, how'd you feel about this?
I thought it was fine.
I thought it was fine,
because it serves this particular plot perfectly.
And it serves the character of Steven, too. He's like a proper Englishman, so what else would he wear?
And he doesn't know how to be like a superhero. Like, Moon Knight is the cool, like, with the hood and the cape, and that suits Mark Spector, because he's a mercenary, he's brutal, whereas Steven is just like, I don't know what I'm doing, summon the suit, alright, I'm in a suit.
Right.
And, like, I have superpowers, I guess, but I don't know how to fight.
Right.
So I thought it was fine.
Me too.
I really liked it.
He gets that one clean punch in, and then he's just celebrating. He's just like, did you see that?
Yeah.
I'm good at this. And then, he gets humbled really, really quick. And then it launches into, again, the first 2 episodes. Boy, do they really know how to end these first 2 episodes. So, basically, Mark's like, all right, it's time.
Yeah, I've had enough.
Yeah, I've had enough of this. And then Steven's like, I don't feel like fighting anymore. You take over. And then we get a little bit more. We get more of that classic Moon Knight. Just that, that dark prowler of the night.
He uses the moonerangs.
Yeah, the moonerangs. Don't trademark us on that. The moonerangs. Basically leads the Jackal away, and the transformation's really good. And then gets into some real Moon Knight action. Has the Jackal chase him across the rooftops. Has an RKO style kill at the end.
Impales it on a church steeple.
Sick. Absolutely sick.
Very brutal.
Very brutal, but I think, honestly, however cool that was, more importantly, Mark's back. Mark's got control of the body.
And he's like, I'm not giving you this.
Yeah, he's just like,
you're done.
It's not yours.
You're benched.
Yeah, you're benched because you're not the person. I'm the guy.
So you're not that guy, pal.
Yeah.
But that really opens the doorway for like the interior struggle between these two characters, Steven and Mark, where before, like, Mark was like, yeah, I could just take this whenever I wanted, but now something has happened and we're kind of on equal footing. Mm-hmm. And the person that's in control of the body is basically got a leg up.
Right.
And basically, you can't have this back, or I can't take it back from you unless, like, basically without your kind of approval.
Right, because Mark knows that I need to be Khonshu's avatar. I need to be the Moon Knight. And Steven's like, absolutely not.
You're like a psychopath.
Yeah, you're a psychopath killer.
This is where we learn a bit about Mark's past,
right,
where he was a mercenary and, he did some really bad things.
Right.
And Steven's like, I'm not on board.
Yeah, episode 2 ends with the cliffhanger where Harrow gets the scarab, which essentially leads to Amit's grave, because it's been told to us that Harrow was Khonshu's avatar, got bitter, understood his judgment was a little bit more honestly selfish, and a little bit more, playing on like the fact that, I can do whatever I want whenever I want, where Amit's judgment is a little bit more premature, and it's a little bit more, I think he uses the analogy, I'm going to clip the weeds before they even grow, instead of letting them grow and clipping them afterwards.
It's the Minority Report thing?
It is the Minority Report. Good reference. Good reference. Oscar Isaac does some hashtag acting when he's kicking the mirror, where Steven's telling him to give me the body back. He's like, no, you're absolutely not. Like, I need to keep Layla safe and I need to complete my mission. Yeah,
so there's basically there's two parallel kind of stories running here. There's the overarching story, which is Harrow versus Khonshu, essentially.
Right.
And then there's the unfurling of the relationship between Steven and Mark.
Right.
Kind of the interpersonal relationship, which I think is really good. I think that's honestly maybe more compelling than the actual overarching plot.
Mm-hmm.
is the interpersonal plot between Mark and Steven.
Right.
And every episode kind of peels back another layer of that. You're like, what is exactly happening here?
Right.
Like, who, at this point, you don't really know who, like, the real person is.
Right. That's a great point. The first 3 episodes do a good... I think the first 4, I don't think you find out until the end of 4.
4 is when you start to piece it together.
That marks the actual person, and Steven's the personality he created.
Yeah, but until then, you don't really know.
Yeah,
you don't know, was Steven Grant a person before this? And Mark Spector was just this kind of persona, or like this avatar that infused into Steven Grant by way of Khonshu. Like, you don't really know.
Yeah, you don't even know if it is just even more just straight up that Mark is like the person that he lets his anger out for, which I think is a really good job. And then obviously the other part, Khonshu tells Mark, we're going to Egypt. Like,
going to Egypt.
Yeah, the only way that he has the scarab now. The only way that we're gonna get to Amit's tomb first is like if we just go there, because at least we know we know the vicinity of where we're going.
Yeah.
So yes, they go to Egypt. Episode 3 starts off with Layla, a little bit more backstory on her and her father, which is important, especially from the comics. I believe her character was switched out because they wanted an Egyptian actress to make sure played Layla instead of I forget who it was in the comics, his love interest, but they're the same. It's the same character essentially. So yeah, they're going to Amit's tomb. Mark Spector's in Egypt. Some guys are doing knife tricks to try to intimidate him, but he's like, "Don't you know I was in Drive? You can't intimidate me." So, but again, the interesting thing, and I mean, we're gonna talk about this later, is it's Mark. It's Mark this time that's there, and he blacks out again. But then he wakes up in the cab and he's trying to leave notoriously, and it's like, that doesn't seem like a Mark Spector thing to do because he's in the middle of a mission. Why would he leave? You think it's Steven, which it does a good job at, but then you find out he sees the guys that were attacking him later and they immediately run away like they're in fear, and he's just like, I know Steven wouldn't do that, and I didn't just do that, I just blacked out. So are there more personalities in that brain? Yeah,
and then there's the other scene too where he has the knife into the chest when he awakens also. Right. And he's like, Steven, what did you do? And Steven goes, that wasn't me.
That wasn't me.
You're like, ooh, intrigue.
Something's going on.
Yep. And then what else happens in the third episode?
So the big thing is we start to get a little bit more Egyptian lore, and we start to learn a bit more about the Egyptian gods. So basically, Khonshu's not the only god. There's a litany. There's a council almost of them, and they kind of judge. So basically what Khonshu wants to do is they have a meeting, and what Khonshu wants to do, they have an Egyptian god meeting, and essentially what he wants to do is like present the council with the case that like Harrow's trying to bring Amit back because they locked Amit up years and years ago, and he's like, do not bring her back, like this is a mistake because she's just gonna like ignite this flame.
And all these gods have their own avatars, right? Much like Khonshu has Mark,
right, and Amit. Not yet, but presumably will have Harrow. Yeah. So yeah, they kind of take over the body. So Khonshu essentially takes over Mark's body, which leads to some more just great acting from Oscar Isaac, because he turns into like this like
screaming
maniac that just has like just thinks he has power over the entire room.
Yeah, and then Harrow shows. Well,
right, Harrow
shows up again.
Yeah, he just shows up. He's just like, oh my god, I would never do something like that. Actually, this Khonshu fellow over here is just killing people left and right. Yeah, look what he's
doing to this poor Mark guy.
Yeah, this Mark guy, he needs medical attention.
Look at me, I'm fit as a fiddle.
Oh my gosh.
And the gods.
I was in training day.
And the gods are like, all right. Yeah, we see your point.
Yeah.
Harrow.
I like the hair, Harrow.
You're free to go.
Yeah, get out of here. However, you, Khonshu, don't do anything else.
You're on your last.
Yeah, you're on your last. You're on your final warning, buddy.
Final warning. Final warning for Khonshu.
Yeah, final. And if
before he gets banished.
Locked up in a clay glass.
In a box.
What's in the box? Khonshu's in the box. So basically, Layla has this contact, I believe.
Sure. We get very like National Treasure right here.
Yeah, so I think the sell of the show was it's Fight Club mixed with Indiana Jones, and I think episode 3 you feel it. Episode 3 and 4 you feel it the most. Yeah. So yeah, they go to the actor that unfortunately passed away, who was supposed to play, what was it, Midnight Man? He was supposed to be. So they go there. You find out that Harrow's like, you know what?
This guy's like the typical high art, shady art collector guy, basically, that has like the one thing that the protagonist needs to get to the story moving. Right. Sure enough, he has that thing.
Right. And then more Moon Knight action. The longest,
a little bit.
Yeah. So this is like it's typically how these shows go.
Because the whole thing is like they find the thing, and then Layla's like, all right, Mark, go ahead. And Mark's like, I don't know what any of this means. And she's like, you gotta let Steven do it. He's like, absolutely not. I worked so hard to get my body back. I'm not giving it back to him. And Steven's like, well, how you gonna do Egyptian knowledge without me? And he's like, I'll just look in this mirror, and then you can tell me what to do. And that takes way too long. Because then the guy wraps up, and he's like, hey, what's going on over there?
Right.
And then Harrow shows up again.
Harrow does show up, and Harrow tries to make him a better deal.
Yeah. He's like, hello, I'm the villain. And
Yeah.
I've just appeared once again. And then a big fight.
Big fight. Big Moon Knight fight. Gets a lot from the trailer of what we've seen. A lot of good Moon Knight action.
Moonerangs.
Moonerangs, just brutal action. Lots of fun for the kids.
Does the swoopy cape thing?
Yeah, he does. Basically, he's basically Batman.
Yep.
Cool. So that's cool and all, but then we get to the actual end of the episode. So they need to find Amit's tomb, right? So obviously they don't have to scare her, but they can find the night on which Amit was buried. So what they do is Layla says, like, I need Steven because I need to know the star sequence sitting on the night. And he's just
you're
like,
a big dumb idiot, Mark.
Right. So basically she's just like, well, I still can't really find it out because it was 2,000 years. Because Steven tells you, like, she's just like, finally, but he's like, no, this is not the right day. Like, we need to go back 2,000 years. And Khonshu's like, this is my bag. This is what I've been waiting for. And then the whole council's like, don't you do it. Don't you do it. Don't turn back the night sky, bud. And
he's like, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, I'm going to do it. So Khonshu and Mr. Knight, basically, with their powers combined, turn back the night sky,
with your powers combined, I am Captain Planet.
Which is pretty freaking cool.
It was really great.
Yeah.
A really mesmerizing kind of sequence.
Yeah, that was a really, really...
highlighted by a great piece of music also.
Right, yeah. Visually stunning, just really, really solid piece right there. Yep. So, yeah, that's how it ends.
Yeah, and the gods are like,
Nope. And Khonshu famously at the end says, tell Mark to free me.
Tell Mark I love him.
Yeah, tell Mark I love you. So
Mark, I love you.
Yeah.
I know.
Just so good. That was a really good
And that's
sequence.
how that episode ends. Yeah. And again, it leaves you with a lot of questions. You're like, well, wait, what happens now?
So it's the first half of the season is over, and again, it ends on a massive cliffhanger because the theory started running, well, the sky's back 2,000 years. Are the Infinity Stones back? And I was like, shut up, nerds.
Yeah, easy.
I don't think it's that big.
You're going into WandaVision.
They have not made one reference to the MCU in this show.
You're going into WandaVision levels of lunacy right now?
Relax.
I was like, wait, so is Mark... What happens now?
Right.
Because that was the whole thing, it was built upon the idea that Mark was dead, or like on his deathbed when Khonshu kind of took him over. So you're like, what happens to Mark now?
Right. But he's still alive. I guess he just got resurrected in Moment, so was healed in Moment. But, what's not healed? Being Moon Knight, it's gone because Khonshu's gone. So now it's just, he still has a split personality. Obviously, Mark still has all his, tools and knowledge of being a merc, and Steven still has all his knowledge.
Yeah.
But
so find the tomb.
Right. They find the tomb. So we're on to episode 4. The horror episode, just getting us ready for Multiverse of Madness, I guess. Yeah. This episode.
Yeah, there's some creepy crawlies. There's a big jump scare in this episode. Big jump scare
in this episode. They were so creepy. Creepy.
These
the pharaohs that protect the tomb, or or whatever you call them, that protect the pharaohs.
Yeah, so this is, again, very Indiana Jones, very National Treasure-esque sequence in the pyramid and the tombs. And
more importantly, Steven's making moves.
Yeah.
Steven's making moves on Layla.
Yeah.
Like, he's just like, hey, you ever been to Golden Corral? I can take you there.
They do a kiss.
They do a kiss, and then Mark punches Steven in the face, which basically hit himself in the face.
Very good.
Yeah, very good. Very good stuff.
So and then we see these undead kind of creatures of the night kind of prowling the tomb. You're like, what is happening?
Yeah. Creepy, man. It's creepy.
Layla and Steven get separated at one point, and Mark is basically just like, she'll be fine.
Yeah. And Steven's like, we need to
help her.
You know what my favorite part about Steven? While he's like, he needs to help her, he's also geeking out over everything in there.
Because he's like, oh my god, this is this.
Yeah, this is awesome. This is amazing. So they find Amit's tomb, and it was buried with
Alexander the Great.
Alexander the Great. That was a pretty cool reference.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Layla's escaping the creepy crawlies.
And guess who shows up? Ethan Hawke.
Ethan Hawke shows up just inexplicably.
I was in the Before trilogy. I show up anywhere.
Just inexplicably again shows up, and he's like, Mark never told you what happened to your father, did he? And then she's like, he told me everything I needed to know. You killed my father.
Mm-hmm. No. He killed your father. What?
It's a reverse Star Wars. It's a reverse Star Wars reveal that Mark had a hand, at least, in the death of Layla's father. Mm-hmm. And and Ethan Hawke's just like, I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to leave that there with you. and see you later, basically.
Right. Right.
And then, so meanwhile, Steven is solving a puzzle, essentially, on how to get... He's doing like a Tomb Raider puzzle on how to get Amit's kind of avatar thing to keep it away from Harrow.
Right.
And then, wouldn't you know it, Ethan Hawke shows up.
I was in First Reformed. I'm Ethan Hawke. I was in First Reformed, and now I'm here.
And he's like, give it. Give it. Give me the thing. Give it. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And Ethan Hawke's like, well... how about you get shot in the chest?
Yeah, and then Mark's just like, you know what? Before Layla confronts Mark, because Mark immediately takes over the body just so he could be like, we're out of here. We're not going to talk about this. We're gone. And he's just like, nope, you killed my father. He's just like, no, but she's just like, you didn't help not get him killed. And he's like, good point.
True.
Sorry.
Sorry. Yeah.
So, yeah, and then...
Big confrontation.
Mark's
like, I'll kill all of you. Bang!
Yeah, bang. Some great visual again, great music. The score of the show is just really, really, inspired.
And you're like, wait a second, did they just kill the main character?
Right, he's shot, he's in water, and then they do this really good shot where he just keeps falling in the water.
And
oh my god. And then is like the understatement of the century. So we had heard like through the grapevine, because people obviously see these shows early, that like episode 4/5 were just like the ones that were gonna like ignite the world on fire, and boy were they not wrong.
Because Mark awakens.
Yeah, and there's just, so basically Mark's sinking through the floor, just essentially you think he's dying, and that's just the way it's representing itself. And then there's a VHS tape playing in universe, and
of like a knockoff kind of
Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
But then you find out what the main character's name is, and it's it's Stephen Grant.
And you're like,
huh?
Wait a second.
And then it pans out, and it's somebody watching the TV, and then they're in this big white asylum.
Yep, you're in a psych ward.
And then you see all the characters from the show up. And then you see Mark there, and then he's sitting in, like, just kind of numb, sitting in a wheelchair, just looking at his reflection. Layla's there, like, all the characters that showed up in the show are there.
And then
guess who shows up next?
Ethan Hawke shows up.
I was in the Tesla biopic.
And I got a mustache.
Yeah, I have a mustache, just like the Tesla biopic. He also had a mustache. So, yeah, Ethan Hawke's there.
He's like, hello, Mark. I'm your doctor.
I'm your doctor.
And Mark's like, Doctor what?
Yeah, Mr. Doctor. It's strange.
But yeah, so Mark's in a psych ward. And you're like, what is happening?
What's going on?
We're back to episode 1 quota, where we're like, what is happening?
Yeah, and I mean, what is happening times a million.
Yeah.
So basically, he's in his office, he's just like, hey, I want to, Steven, Mark, whoever you are, I want to help you. I want to help you out, man.
Mark's like, you're no.
Yeah, you just shot me.
You shot me. And he's like, did I?
Did I? That's ridiculous.
He's like, would I really?
Would I do that? Yeah, Ethan Hawke, you might.
And Mark's like, I guess not. I'm sitting here. And he's like, exactly. Is that sense or is that nonsense, Mark? And he's like, nonsense, I guess.
That's what I'm saying. I'm Ethan Hawke. I was in The Northman.
And then he's like, all right, it's, if you're not going to give me anything, Mark's like, I'm out of here. I'm breaking out of this place. And he breaks through a couple of orderlies at the mental, and then he runs into a room.
And then he sees a sarcophagus.
And it's like
shaking,
bouncing around. And he opens it, and it's Oscar Isaac.
It's Oscar Isaac.
The actor.
It's Oscar Isaac from X-Men Apocalypse. It's just actor Oscar Isaac. It's Poe Dameron in the sarcophagus.
Somehow Oscar Isaac returned.
Somehow Oscar Isaac returned.
But no, it's Stephen Grant. And you're like, what is happening?
How, Sway? You don't have the answer, Sway.
So this is where you start to being like, okay.
Yeah, this show is bonkers.
Yeah, so they're like, we got to get out of here.
But remember way back when we said that they didn't know that it felt like there was somebody else doing stuff while they were both asleep? There's another sarcophagus in there that
just
lit up in red.
Yeah, and they're like, nope.
Nope, that just seems creepy.
Yeah, we're not dealing with that right now.
Not opening that up.
And then they're running to the end of the hallway, and
jeez,
wouldn't you know it? A big Egyptian hippopotamus walks through there.
And she just sounds so innocent. She's like, hi.
And then they scream.
And it's just the end. It's the end of the episode. Remember when, like, Iron Man was coming out? And, like, the craziest thing was, like, Jeff Bridges was yelling at the kid from A Christmas Story to make him an arc reactor.
And then episode 5 basically opens with that moment. With that transition moment. And then Mark ends up back in Harrow's office. And he's like, all right, tell me about the Egyptian hippopotamus. Or Egyptian rhino. And he's like, it's a hippopotamus,
It's a hippopotamus.
And Harrow's like, all right, sure, whatever. Whatever you say, man. And then, yeah, he's like, you're not a doctor. You're not a doctor. You're not. And Harrow's like, I'm not a doctor, really.
But not notoriously, I mean, but interestingly enough, the way it's the accent that keeps getting me, that tells me that I don't think this is Mark or Steven, because the way he's talking, he talked like that in episode 3 where he was wearing the hat. And famously in the Jeff Lemire run, I'm not just the Jeff Lemire run, but he's the cabbie, Jake Lockley. So basically what we're getting at is Jake Lockley in the comics is the third personality of Mark Spector. So in the comics, Stephen Grant is the billionaire. Obviously, they scrapped that because of the Batman connection, so they just made Stephen Grant what they did for the show, and it works. Mark Spector's still Mark Spector through and through. He's the main character. He's the hired gun that almost died that night, turned Moon Knight. And then there's Jake Lockley, which is the one that keeps his, ear to the ground a little bit more. He's a little bit more of a, he's like the informant almost kind of personality. But this one seems like Jake Lockley's the madman. He seems like the one that, and it gets explained through the emotionally taxing episode 5.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, where you kind of, if you want to put 2 and 2 together, it feels like he even says Steven's the punching bag to take all, to remember their...
So, like, the big reveal of episode 5 is that Mark Spector suffers from dissociative identity disorder, brought about by the death of his brother, and the subsequent blame that his mother places on him for the death of his brother.
Peacemaker level, just...
Bad
parenting.
Yeah.
Oh, we get to add them to the parents list. Just wait till... Are we going to have to do that for Mother's Day and Father's Day? The mom and dad ranking? Because Moira Queen... Oh, I'm looking at you. I can't wait to talk about you.
Mark Spector's mom.
Oh, yeah. She's way worse than Moira Queen.
So that's basically the big reveal of episode 5 is that Steven is a creation of Mark's mind. And he develops DID. And that's how Steven comes about. Because Stephen Grant was kind of the hero explorer that Mark looked up to as a kid.
Right.
And that's the persona that he created. Yeah. So before that, we get back to the hippopotamus deity. And she's the comp would be like Cryon of Greek mythology, where she's the boatman that takes you to either heaven or hell, depending on how balanced your soul is. And she's like, your scales aren't balancing because there's something that you guys have not sorted out. And that's kind of like the like It's a Wonderful Life thing, like trip down a memory lane, and them trying to uncover like what the actual deal is.
Jeez,
it's so good.
After WandaVision, you guys relax, Marvel.
Yeah,
we've had enough. We had enough.
Yeah, we get Steven finally realizing who and what he is. He follows Mark to the death of his brother, trying to just save the kids. Mark is furiously trying to not let Steven see what's going on. And then there's a penultimate scene where Mark runs up to his bedroom, and Mark's like, "That's enough. That's it.
Don't look. Yeah,
you've seen enough." And Steven's like, "Look, whatever." And then they have, going back a bit, they have that kind of come to Jesus moment about what Mark has done, having a hand in Layla's father's death. They have that, but that's still not enough. That's still not balancing the scales. And this whole time, I forget who the deity's name.
I will tell you. You keep talking, I will tell you.
But essentially, she tells them, like, look, this boat ride's ending one way or the other. Either you're going to the eternal hell, basically, where you spend with all the judged souls, or you're going to the fields of reeds, which is essentially like heaven. And Mark's like, look, neither is an option.
Tower it.
Yeah.
Or I think that's how you pronounce it.
Mark's like, neither of those is an option. We have to get back to Earth and stop Harrow because he's going to release Amit. And then she's like, he wouldn't dare. And he's like, he would. He would dare.
He would dare.
Actually. And then a bunch of souls just start dropping down before they're ready to be judged. And she's like,
I was in the Purge.
And she's like, all right, fine. She's like, I can't explicitly get you out because your scale still needs to balance. And if your scale doesn't balance, I can't help you. But I can bring you to the gates of Osiris and get you back to Earth if your scale balances. So get in there, get back, and see what's going on. And Steven's like, look, there's only one thing we haven't covered yet, and it's what happened in that bedroom. And so we get to that scene, and geez Louise. you see the moment where Mark creates the Stephen Grant persona, and, Mark's sitting there, he's like, that's not my mom, because she's pounding at the door, she's drunk, she's angry, she just...
She wants to unleash all of her wrath onto him.
Yeah.
Similar to what Khonshu wants to do to the world. I picked that up.
Yeah.
It's like, and I think that's what's going to happen with Khonshu in episode 6. He's going to associate that, like, you're using something that I didn't do to blame me for the stuff that you can't do.
Yeah. So he's in his room and Steven's watching this unfold, being like, I don't remember this. Like, I remember this room, but I don't remember this moment in
and
time.
Mark tells him, like, you're supposed to remember all the happy memories. I even gave you a new life. I gave you everything that you would have wanted. Like, I gave you an apartment. I gave you a job. Like,
we see the moment where Mark, where his personality splits and Steven's created, and his mom just, you don't see it, but it's rough.
But this is where the Jake Lockley piece comes in. I think Mark is the main guy. Steven is the one that's supposed to remember he's supposed to be the regular person, just supposed to remember these things. But I think Jake is the one that was the one physically taking the abuse. So that's what turned him into sort of like this, quote unquote psychopath that we might see either in episode 6, or more importantly, I think next season. Yeah. Because I think they did disclaimer say this is season 1.
But even that moment is not enough to balance the scales.
Nope.
So there was a scene earlier that Steven had took notice of Mark standing outside of a car, drinking from a flask in the street. Steven's like, what is that? And Mark's like, you haven't stood in the street before? Like, there's nothing weird about that. Come to find out, this is Mark's mother's funeral, which Steven had since erased from his memory.
Right.
Because
her Shiva, because they're Jewish. So it's her like period of wake.
Memorial service, for lack of a better word.
Right. So yeah, he's in the street, and it's the same energy as when Elizabeth Olsen broke down and created Westview and WandaVision. Same energy.
He can't bring himself to be there. He sees his father, and he's just like, I'm not giving you the satisfaction. Speaking to his mother, basically.
Just breaks him.
Yep. And then he reverts back to the Steven persona and wonders why he's there. Calls his mom on the phone, and that was the big setup from episode 1, where Steven was always talking to his mother's voicemail and not understanding why. And then, that's the shoe drops, and that's why. And then we end up back in the office with Harrow. Ethan Hawke shows up.
Ethan Hawke's back.
But he's with Steven this time.
Ethan Hawke's like, I'm going to be in the black phone. I'm Ethan Hawke.
And Ethan Hawke's like, would you like to talk to your mother, Steven? Steven's like, you can't.
Steven gets mad. He's like, are you making fun of me? Like, that's messed up.
He's like, no, we'll call her right now.
Yeah.
Talk to her. And he plays, and then Steven's like, my mother's dead. And he comes to accept that he is basically a creation of Mark Spector. Like, he was never real. He was never a real boy. And then all heck breaks loose on the boat.
Because now it gets to the point where, Harrow, judging these, what basically it is, this afterlife is like, it's supposed to be something that's, built on this ideal of balance, and now Harrow's prematurely, and that's the idea of Element, like prematurely setting these souls down there, and she's not gonna work. You need to go do something about this. And
but your scales still aren't balanced.
Right. He can't get out. So Stephen Grant finally gets his hero moment.
Yeah, the monsters from the underworld attack the boat, and Stephen and Mark is mostly fighting them off.
But it's too much.
Overwhelms him, and then Stephen does what Stephen was designed to do. He saves Mark, which is what Mark created him for.
Right. A big piece that we didn't talk about, and I mean, really is why his mother turned into his mother. I think we touched on it lightly, but he takes his brother to a waterfall, essentially, or like a cave, a cavern, whatever it may be, and he drowns. His little brother drowns, and his mother blames him for what happened that day, even though, and then Stephen says to him, like, it's not your fault. Like, and Mark thinks this whole time, it's not your fault. You were a child. Like, a child would do something like that. Like, Mark Spector, the adult, would never do something like that, but a child would do something like that. Yep. So, comic ramifications or not, because his brother does turn into a villain in the comics. Who really cares? Because it's just an emotionally impactful scene.
Exactly.
That just really highlights just Oscar Isaac's range and just like...
Just an incredible episode out of Oscar Isaac.
Yeah.
Episode 5.
Right.
You feel every moment.
Oh my gosh,
and
yeah.
There's so many moments to highlight, but the moment is when Stephen does do his last bit of help for Mark, and he ends up going overboard. The ship into the desert, which is the hell basically. And Mark's like, stop the boat, like we have to go back for him. And Steven's like slowing down, chasing the boat. He's like, wait, and then he turns to stone, and Stephen Grant is no more, and the scales balance.
Yep, and then Mark ends up in heaven essentially.
Yeah, the Field of Reeds, which we alluded
Fields
to
of
earlier.
Reeds, and essentially this will set him back up to be, resurrected and brought back for the climactic finale.
Yeah, we also
Moon
see
Knight.
the scene, I should mention, we do see the scene where Khonshu descends upon Mark Spector for the first time.
Right,
and basically asks him to become Moon Knight.
Really, really awesome scene. Really cool.
And Mark accepts, takes up the mantle.
And again, just going to like how like dark and sad this episode, like he was gonna kill himself. Yeah, he was gonna end his life right before that. Knowing what he did and what he was associated with. But nah, we are on the
setting up for the finale.
Yeah. Only thing that I'm thinking about in the back of my mind that we might get a WandaVision-esque finale where it's a lot of character building, a lot of emotional depth, and then we get to a CGI.
Presumably, you're going to get Moon Knight versus a Amit-infused Harrow. Right. Is what I would assume we're building to here.
Right. Anything you want out of this finale?
I'd like to see a little bit more, either a bigger hint at the Jake Lockley piece. Maybe he kind of fills in where Stephen does not exist anymore. Or you do get the return of Stephen Grant by the end of this. Yeah. Somehow.
I think it would be a good thing to do the Jake Lockley thing because we're so accustomed to Stephen. It's just like, oh, you think Stephen's back? It's just this absolutely just monstrous version of himself coming to fruition finally. I think we're going to get an MCU tease, and I think it's going to be, I'm telling you, Mahershala Ali is just going to be bouncing around everywhere and be like, hey, I got a mystical team I'm putting together. I think you should be on this. But beyond that, I do think it's going to be, big. I think it's the shortest episode. It's going to be he's probably going to spend most of the episode in the suit. Yep. I think what also is going to be important is that Khonshu's not going to be the being that he was, bound to. And it's like, he's not going to be like the arm of justice that he thought he was. Khonshu's a little bit more cynical than that. And I think it's going to get highlighted. Like maybe there's a split from Khonshu, but he still keeps the Moon Knight abilities and the Moon Knight persona in him. So that'd be really interesting. But overall, a really solid show. And it just highlights like the range of what the show is in episode 5. It just shows like how crazy we can get, but just how how human this show can be. And it's just really, really impressive what they were able to do. And I'm looking forward to this finale. Marvel's really, really got a week ahead of us. So by this time in 2 days, we would have seen Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, and Moon Knight, the full season. Just so much Marvel content. I'm so glad that I picked up a comic book as a kid because look where we are.
Yeah, agreed. That's gonna pretty much do it. Yeah, for us. Obviously, this week, Multiverse of Madness. I believe we're going to do a similar thing that we did with the Batman, where we're gonna rush here after we see Multiverse of Madness and kind of record a quick kind of 25-minute, 30-minute kind of non-spoiler. Yeah. This is probably going to be even harder to do non-spoiler than the Batman is.
You know what we might stipulate this with? We might throw a Moon Knight, season review in there. Yeah. Just to kind of sublet this as well, because we gave you guys the steak and potatoes, but you need the dessert. So you guys got to know what happens. And then, we'll talk a little bit of Multiverse of Madness. And then next Wednesday, it'll be the full spoiler review. I guess cameos galore as we expected. And kind of the dynamic range of not only that we talked about Oscar Isaac, but Benedict Cumberbatch. Presumably we will also see
Elizabeth
Olsen. Yes. Wong. Benedict
Wong.
Shout out. But the bill comes due always.
Agreed.
You gonna give me the Khonshu of the podcast? Because I'll resent that. Don't give me Stephen Grant either. Give me somebody good if you're gonna do this. Don't give me Harrow either. I'm not accepting that.
Can I sidestep the bet and make you the Ethan Hawke of the podcast?
Yes, I'll take Ethan Hawke. He's a wonderful actor and an even better person. He's just a stand-up guy. And he's really, really smart and loves film himself. So
love how he inexplicably shows up in this show.
Yeah. Every time. He's just I love how he was sitting when he talked to Layla. He was just chilling like he was on a sports magazine. He was just like, he had his foot hanging off the cliff. He was just chilling for a second.
Yeah. See anything interesting?
No.
Cool.
Watched 2016's Patterson with Adam Driver in it. Just a really kind of...
Oh, I love Adam Driver.
Yeah, just like a really melancholy type of film, like a really perspective piece, honestly. I really like films that are more minimalistic in approach, not like, we need to save this by this time, because you can only get so much of those, because the movies like Patterson are really highlights of life, and I think those are more, you know, we go to the movies to see, you know, your Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madnesses, but we stay at home and we contemplate after seeing movies like Patterson. Just a really beautiful piece. A lot of cool actors in there. Chidi from A Good Place is in there. We love Chidi. We love The Good Place. We love Chidi. Really just perspective in a nice open book piece that really gave me a lot of perspective on a lot of stuff that I'm doing right now too, so which is really interesting. I wasn't expecting that, but it's funny how the universe works, and we will see how the universe works in about 2 days.
Yeah.
What a segue. Wow.
That was great.
That was great.
I watched the first 2 episodes of Under the Banner of Heaven.
Yes. Give me some more Andrew Garfield content.
Yeah, so patron saint of the podcast, Andrew Garfield, stars as a detective in 1984 Utah, investigating the brutal murder of a Latter-day Saints Mormon woman and her 16-month-old daughter, brutally murdered, and it uncovers a lot of darkness in the Mormon community and tackles kind of like the extremes of religion and how far people are willing to go to protect their religion and their family. Really good through the first 2 episodes. A lot of kind of really just bone-chilling scenes. A lot of scenes that will make you kind of turn away. But Andrew Garfield's great. Supporting cast. Wyatt Russell is in this. Sam Worthington is in this, as we talked about from Avatar 2. If you're into true crime thrillers, highly recommend it. I believe it's a 5-episode series. The first 2 episodes came out this past Thursday. So, and then it's one a week from there. But can't recommend it enough if you're into that. If that's your bag, the true crime bag, the thriller bag. This definitely tackles all of that. Based on a novel.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. FX got a lot of good work. They've worked with a lot of good people too, not only actors but directors as well. I mean, for me, my Netflix show, it should be Atlanta. It should be. I love Atlanta. But during height pandemic, our friend Alex Garland, who is famous for Annihilation and why am I forgetting Alex? Ex Machina, one of the great modern sci-fi film. Both great modern sci-fi films made this show called Devs that came out with Nick Offerman. I did not have any expectation for that show. I really liked Alex Garland at the time. I was like, this is cool. This is just a show about this tech company. Boy, was I absolutely wrong. And it's like one of those things where you just sit up lying awake at night just thinking about what you just watched. The theme of the show is basically predestination versus determinism.
Classic.
Determinism. Do we really have free will? They find a way to... It's like a really cool concept of how to peer into the past, and then like they're trying to crack the way to peer into the future, and it's an amazingly crafted show. So FX, keep doing what you're doing. You guys have got a lot of good original content on there, so keep rolling.
Agreed. As for that, that's gonna be it for us.
We'll see you guys on the other side.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys on the other side of the multiverse.
Follow us on Twitter at ProjectINF_pod. You can follow us on Facebook, subscribe from there, or on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
iHeartRadio, Pandora.
Yeah.
Your Radio Shack friend Randy. He's playing it in the background.
You can follow us on Instagram.
At the Project Infinite Pod.
Yep. Other than that, we'll see you later this week for a quick look at Doctor Strange, quick review, and a Moon Knight finale review. And next week is going to be our full Doctor Strange review. It's weird that Spider-Man No Way Home was one of the most anticipated movies.
We do this every time, and
now Doctor Strange is now the most anticipated.
And it's also the thing, it's here.
Yep.
It's here. I remember when this movie was first talked about.
Yeah.
It's like 2 years. It was like 3 years, 4 years ago.
Sam Raimi returning to the world of comic book movies.
Yeah.
But
nature's healing.
Yeah.
Sam Raimi's back behind the director's chair for a superhero movie.
Yeah. But besides that, we'll see you later this week for Doctor Strange. Goodbye.
Peace.